Well, the Senate Judiciary Committee has released thousands of pages related to the inquiry surrounding the meeting at Trump Tower with Donald Trump Jr. and a list of Russians, as well as others from the campaign. It includes
Paul Manafort, Jared Kushner was there.
Exactly. Well, it includes details from that meeting. So earlier, we spoke to CBSN contributor Zeke Miller about it.
These are not a bombshell by any stretch, but they do provide additional additional color and insight into this meeting, what everyone thought they were getting out of it. And also, we hear for the first time, really, after his tweets last year, from Donald Trump Jr. under oath, where he's being somewhat evasive about whether or not he discussed the Russia probe with his father or the president of the United States. That sort of goes to the question of intent in those meetings. And one of the other things we learned is that Donald Trump Jr. is still maintaining that he believes it was absolutely right to go into that meeting with the Russian lawyer who was promising dirt on Hillary Clinton from the Russian chief prosecutor.
And do the documents also include new details about Trump's growing interest, or rather his interest in growing his business in Russia and his ties or relationship with Vladimir Putin?
There's not a whole lot of that in there. I mean, some of it is going back in time to the Miss Universe days when with the beauty pageant that the president owned that was held in Russia, which sort of in some ways is sort of where a lot of this controversy stems from. Some of the relationships that the president formed while on that trip have sort of come back to haunt him in a way, and that's whether it be the allegations in that dossier, but also separately this relationship with the business developer and his efforts to build a Trump Tower in Russia that was abandoned, sort of stem from that trip as well.
So what do you suppose the Senate Judiciary Committee released these documents now?
Well, obviously, there's an attempt here to just, they're under pressure to release everything publicly. Eventually, now sort of we're nearing the phase when special counsel will either have to reveal his cards, what he's going to do, whether bring charges or clear people ahead of sort of the freeze-out period around the midterm elections. He either has to act in the next couple of months or then have to wait towards the end of the year. So this could be an effort by Republicans who are friendly to the president to try to sort of force the special counsel's hand to try to actually get him to either make some moves now rather than delay as they're trying to bring this probe to a close.
Zeke, do we learn any more about the White House's initial response, initial statement to the disclosure that this meeting happened, in that it was, according to many outlets, that the president suggested on Air Force One that this meeting was about adoption, not about ultimately what we came to learn? Is there any more light shed on that?
Well, we do hear from in these transcripts Donald Trump Jr. saying he was not in direct communication. He testifies that he was not in direct communication with his father when that statement was released. But we do know, based on reporting and other testimony from aides who were on Air Force One with the president, that they were intimately involved and in discussions with the president about it. We do hear again that this meeting was about adoption, but adoption isn't, it was not just an adoption in vacuum. Adoption relates directly to Russia sanctions. That was one of the penalties that Russia put back on the respond to the United States after a round of sanctions against Russia for Russian intervention in Crimea and other destabilizing activities. So, adoption ended up being a very nice cover or a very benign sounding explanation. But even just that is a politically charged issue and the geopolitically charged issue that is also related to sanctions.
So, Zeke, you say there's sort of nothing particularly mind-blowing about the documents, and I understand there's thousands of pages, and I'm sure you only got a chance to sort of review some of them. But does this give us any insight at all into whether or not the Trump campaign was working, was colluding, was operating in coordination with the Russian government?
There's certainly no smoking gun there. And that's been the case all the way through. It does provide, yet again, an affirmation by the president's son saying he thought it was entirely proper to respond to that email offer for a meeting that was essentially, here's a foreign power trying to give you dirt on your father's political opponent. And he believes, again, it was right to say yes. So there's a certain amount of intent to take any and all outside help to defeat Hillary Clinton, from even if it did come from the Russian government. Does that mean any of that actually did happen? We don't have that piece of the puzzle just yet. We know that there was a desire, at least on the part of Donald Trump Jr., to try to sort of get any information he can get on Hillary Clinton, no matter the source. But we don't know for sure if he actually ever got anything that was actionable, and that's sort of the real crux of the matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, people are going to consistently expect that there's some kind of a smoking gun, but I don't think that that's what this investigation is about. The idea that the son of a candidate for the presidency of the United States would be willing to accept information, dirt, if you will, on his political opponent, that happens all the time in politics. The fact that he doesn't care that it might even come from a foreign adversary of the United States, well, that's an issue for a lot of people. So we'll have to see what the special counsel and ultimately the American people think about that.
Right.
Zeke Miller, as always, my friend, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.